Okay, people, it's got to a stage where I am now begging for help. I am begging for help, for somebody to help me with the legal aspects of what's gone on the last 10 years, where there is 100% proof of complete fabricated charges made up in a local mosque in Blackburn, accusing my dog of biting a 6-year-old Asian girl. The evidence was totally false, fabricated evidence that was proven from the first solicitor, which was Forbes of Blackburn, who sent the paperwork off to a dog specialist to come back saying it wasn't an injury from a dog. Why was it just a picture of a leg? Why was there no evidence? Why was there no ripped clothing or anything? Okay? Now this offence was thought up in a local mosque in Blackburn, Lancashire, and sorry about this, and we've gone through it before, but this is the evidence. That is the only piece of evidence that was produced in a court of law in Preston Crown Court and in Blackburn Magistrates Court. That is the exact piece of paper the officer brought to my home. I was not charged, I was not interviewed, but I was summoned to court. Now, I had one solicitor that was prepared to stick up for me and did a good job of it and said this is unsubmissible evidence, should never have gone to court or anything like that, and that was Ian Kellogg's from Kellogg's Solicitors, Preston. Now, Ian Kellogg was taken out of the courts halfway through a hearing into a chambers at the back. Ian Kellogg came back into that courtroom looking very, very disturbed. He was pale white, he was quite upset, and he went on to say, I am not able to represent you anymore. Alright? So why is that? I rung Kellogg's 3 months ago to try and get some paperwork from this offence. I was told all the paperwork has been destroyed. Why is Lancashire Police sending police women to come to people's homes with complete fabricated evidence that has been fabricated and conjured up in local mosques in Blackburn, Lancashire? Why are the police doing this dirty work for them? Why is Preston Crown Court allowing complete fabricated trials to run through their courts? The judges that stood on that trial know from day one this evidence is insubmissible evidence. That is insubmissible evidence. That cannot stand as evidence in a court of law. That could be anything and is anything. That is not a 6-year-old Asian girl's leg, put it that fucking way. And that is not my American Bulldog's jaw mark, right? This is complete bullshit. Why are we allowing this? All right? I've been set up on numerous charges. The police are coming in my home every single time I go out damaging stuff in my home. Every time I go out voiding on. They're getting me called, and it's Lancashire County Council is involved. They're calling me out to appointments so they know exactly where I am. And whilst I'm there, they're coming in my house. I went to an appointment at Shelter only 6 weeks ago to take my bike into Shelter on the actual level where all people were sat there around their desks. When I left that appointment, there had been somebody gone in there with a bike tool and loosened the chain, pushed the link right out of the chain on my bike, which caused the chain to snap on the way home, which was to cause an accident and cause me as much injury, as much harm as possible. I rang up Shelter when I got home asking for the CCTV to see who had done that, and they wouldn't allow me to look at the CCTV. They put me off. Right? This has to stop. There's 100% evidence, solid evidence, that the police have charged me on corrupt, fabricated charges. Jonathan Taylor from Lancashire Farley Solicitors is massively involved. He has been having me charged on complete fabricated charges of hitting 16-year-old girls with a picture of a cold sore. That's what it were. And I got remanded, put on the normal wings in prison, and the only reason I pled guilty to that was to get out. He got me to plead guilty. He lied to the judge, telling the judge I've been on remand 2 weeks, I've been on remand 3 months. Right? And I will fight these solicitors, and I will fight the police, because I am in the right. They are the ones committing the criminal offences, and it can be proven 100%. All you have to do is go into the offences and prove it. I have got the proof there. That is the only proof that a trial on Preston Crown Court was run. I need somebody, please. Help me take this to the European Court of Human Rights. There has been several attempts to murder me. I have had my home entered. I have had gas pipes behind my cooker severely bent with the hands. Somebody bent it with the hands to cause 2 fractures. Spewing gas into my flat to get me to blow this place sky high. I got called to an appointment at the community drug team, where the community drug team have been discussing my criminal offences with other users there, and I have proof, I have a witness. But they've been going telling people about my criminal offences. Why are they doing that? I'm being called to the community drug team, and every time I am at that community drug team, the police are in my house damaging stuff, which has happened this week again. My BMX bike has had a big dent put in it again, and my phone charger snaps again. That's about probably the 5th or 6th phone charger they've snapped. Now, I've rung the police, I've reported it, nothing's going to be done again, like the rest of the times. But why are the police allowing people to come in my home? I was put on community service on a children's adventure park just outside Accrington, where little girl guides and brownies stop for the week without the parents. I was put on there community service to set the piss. Whilst I was on there, people have been in my home and put a brand new flue onto my chimney and on the roof. Now, I sent all these pictures, all the pictures of it, and the pictures of the 2 fuse boxes that were fitted in my home when I was called to the community drug team again. I spoke to a guy called Hanif there, who called me out on a whim. I didn't have an appointment. He just called me out because people wanted to come in the house. And when I got home, there was 2 fuse boxes. I was coaxed into cussing through one of them fuse boxes after they used the flat underneath where they sent the old lady who was living there on Caribbean cruises. She told me everything. 3 months on a Caribbean cruise, so they could use her house to intimidate me and to basically murder me. To coax me into cussing through the second fuse box power main, which was redirected to the flat downstairs. I cut through the power main after being deprived of sleep for weeks. And it didn't even cut the electric off in the flat downstairs. It should have cut the whole street's electric off. It didn't even cut the electric off from the flat downstairs. When I went downstairs after it blew all the skin off my hands, I'm lucky it didn't kill me, but it blew all the skin off my hands, and I went downstairs to check if the old lady was alright. Well, she wasn't there. I didn't know at the time. She saw me when she got back, but she wasn't there. But the police were. They answered the door with an engineer, who then came in my house and removed that second fuse box. I was took to the police station. I was put in a cell that had 2 vents in the roof. I've been in the police cell quite a few times. This cell had 2 vents in the roof. One was blowing freezing cold air, and the other was blowing a whistling sound, non-stop. Every time I went to fall asleep, they'd completely open the door and wake me up. They would not let me sleep. They would not let me sleep. I'd cut through a power main. I should have gone to hospital. I had a murmur in my heart. There was something wrong with my heart after doing it. They didn't take me to the hospital. They put me straight in the police station. Now, there's proof of every single charge that I have been charged with, and I have been charged with some disgusting charges. They all have to be against girls or little kids, right? To make me look like a fucking monster. And this is being set up by Tariq Butt. That is my ex-girlfriend's brother. Tariq Butt, he's an inspector in the police. He's training police officers in Saudi Arabia now. Since I split up with Nadia, this is when it really started up in the ante. I met her a few months ago, and she told me it's basically because of her brother. So he's completely abusing his power. I've got a baby with her. I've got a daughter with her, and they're trying to get rid of me, basically, because they come from a half-caste family, Pakistani and Scottish. And the Pakistani side of the family are trying their best to get rid of me. They've already murdered her ex-husband. That's been put down as an accident. Just a bit funny that he died the same time as there was 2 fuse boxes appeared in my flat, the same time as the chimney was blocked up and a new chimney flue was fitted inside my home. Yeah, when I was on community service, a new flue appeared in my home. The existing chimney was blocked up with the insulation off the floor. The new flue had a bottle of ammonia smashed in it. My living room filled up with ammonia. I went to open the windows. There'd been 4 big screws fitted through my windows to stop me opening the windows. As I got a screwdriver to open them, a police car turned up outside looking directly at me on the radio. So why is this happening? Why is it happening? I badly broke my foot, so I had to barricade my door up and jump through the kitchen window. The trainers that I had on had all the soles injected, so they weren't nice comfy trainers anymore. The soles were absolutely rock hard. The leather was like lead, whatever they'd done to the trainers. This is what they're doing, coming in my house, doing stuff like that. Jumped out the window, broke my foot clean in half, boom. Had to walk 4.5 miles to the hospital. Got to the hospital to be met by police officers at the door, saying they'll charge you with 2 murders. I said, sort your fucking head out, what are you on about? This is shit that they're coming out with, right? Gone into the hospital. All the little round windows have got paper put over them, so you can't see through from the other wards. Sinead McCann was a nurse on that ward that night. She will tell you, Sinead McCann. She was a sister on that ward at night. That ward had been completely boxed off from the rest of the hospital and used to intimidate me. A doctor told me to take my shirt off. He was checking my back. He put something in my back. 2 weeks later, I had a massive big worm growing out my back, exactly where he touched it. On the x-ray, you could see my foot clearly broke from one side to the other. He told me it was a human hair. He said it wasn't broke. He patted me on the back. He said, you are a very strong man. That is a human hair. And they made me walk home from the hospital with a badly broken foot in the snow, 4.5 miles, no crutches, no medication, nothing. Sinead McCann will back that up. She was a sister on that ward that night. So they're abusing the NHS. They're abusing Preston Crown Court. There was a lot of Muslims there at the time as well at the hospital. Muslims that I'd seen around here, Muslim drug dealers, stubby police officers, stubby counsellors. They were coming up to me saying, oh, do you want to come to my house and have a good sleep? Because I'd not slept for weeks. I could not sleep. Whatever they put in my flat, I could not sleep. That's how they corked me into cutting through the fuse box, which was removed by the police when they arrested me for cutting through my own fuse box. The police were stood there going, what can we charge him with? What do you think we're charging with? Trying their best to wind me up and get a reaction. But this needs looking at. These are serious criminal offences of attempted murder caused by the police. Lancashire Police are involved. And I have rung them over 30 times now, reporting people coming in my home. The first time I mentioned on the 101 police line, the first time I mentioned on the police 101 line that whoever is entering my home can be seen on the CCTV camera across the road at the church hall. Within 12 hours, that CCTV camera was completely removed. It had been there at 8 years before I mentioned on the police 101 site that whoever is entering my home can be seen on that CCTV camera. Then it was completely removed. I will put in a children's adventure park where little girl guides and brownies do adventure camps for the week. But I'm there to do community service, just taking the piss and that. Yeah. I am being set up and I am being targeted. Only September, an uninsured driver, Asian guy again. This was all set up. The police were already there before he even hit me. I was going round the roundabout in the town centre and an Asian guy drove straight through the junction and hit me full on in a car. He was an uninsured driver and an unregistered driver, but was allowed to drive straight off, even though he knocked me cold out and broke my wrist. Again, why are they letting uninsured drivers drive off from the scene of road traffic accidents? It was all on CCTV. They're saying there's no CCTV. They're covering it all up. I went to see a claim specialist. The solicitor who was appointed to me, I didn't get that solicitor, I appointed a different solicitor, then somebody ended up taking over it, obviously set up by the police. They ended up taking over it, and all the statements have been changed. Then it can't be looked into. All the statements have been changed, saying I was driving a motorbike. Such thing, no such mention of a motorbike. And this was by FMB. They appointed some woman, a Tracy chick, who took over the case, and since she took over the case, all the statements have been changed to stop this being looked into. I need some serious help, people. Please, somebody help me. This needs to go to the European Court of Human Rights. I need a solicitor that is just prepared to keep the law. It's not hard. I'm not asking for anything out the blue. I'm asking for justice to be done. For the British law. Not to be kept. Not police officers absolutely lying in Preston Crown Court, breaking into my house to remove evidence. Because that's what they did. I ended up having to represent myself on these false charges of my dog biting a 6-year-old Asian girl. I went through 5 solicitors who all lied. Completely lied to get her guilty on this charge. There's a false doctor's statement signed. It was conspired and concocted in a local Blackburn mosque. This needs to stop. Why are our police officers coming round arresting British citizens on complete fabricated evidence that's been concocted in local mosques?